you seen the article in the Shopper and Roland? And
Yeah, I'm reading it now. It's an interesting article. He's been involved with the Grange since he was 14 years old, and he talks about all his ancestors that were involved with the Grange.
That's pretty amazing. You know, nobody thinks much about the Grange anymore. It doesn't get much publicity. It's still out there, but you know, that was an organization that started back in the 1870s, right after the Civil War. And that was a time the country was going through Reconstruction, trying to get its act back together after the war. It was a time that everything was transitioning from horse-drawn to steam. It was a time that everybody was just having, well, society was just going in different directions. Urban areas were expanding like crazy. Rural areas, horse-drawn farm implements, mud roads, they were kind of stuck in the backwoods. And there was a real divergence in rural versus urban back then. And the Grange came in and really filled that gap for the rural people. Instead of having to come all the way into town, which was a major issue back then on muddy roads with horses, they had their own local areas that could provide education and socialization, and they could keep up with the latest things that were happening with transportation and railroads, getting things to market. I mean, it really became the nerve center for the rural communities. Grange was pretty important stuff.
Wow, interesting. And I understand he has a bunch of artifacts in his basement. Wouldn't it be great if the museum could procure these artifacts and put them on display?
Oh man, he looked like he had a basement full of stuff. Yeah, I'd love to see us be able to get that. I mean, that's what we do. I mean, that's our job, is to take collections like that and get them out to where we can present them to the public. I think it'd be a great idea.
Let me see if I can give him a call and see if it's possible for us to stop.
picture of our old Grange Hall, and this is my grandparents' store, which is just across the road from it. This is a desk that was in that store. This is kind of where I've started the museum, and I've been collecting for the last 50 years probably or more. It's just I bought some stuff on eBay to start with, and then I got to be the historian of the Michigan State Grange, and things started coming to me, and things that the State Grange couldn't keep, and that we couldn't take someplace else to keep. Why, they came to my basement, so I've got a lot of stuff here that a lot of historical stuff. Some of the older stuff that I have, it goes clear back to 1872 or 1868, some of it, when the Grange was first organized. And the way that the Grange became organized was the man that organized it, Oliver Hudson Kelly, went into the South right after the Civil War to get the South people working with the North. He worked for the government, and the president sent him into the South. And he happened to be a Mason, and when he went into the South, of course, he wasn't very much welcome, except where there were Masons. There were the other Masons. So that's where he got the idea of a rural
fraternity, like
organizations.
Anyway, just to get similar to the with the ritual and all that.
Right.
And that's how the Grange got started. So I say I've collected this stuff. This is they're just these badges. My wife and I were delegates from Michigan to the National Grange Conventions, and this is some of those. Have ballot boxes, which was there, and I have more over here. I have a lot of pins.
picture there, Ron.
Yeah, this picture it's a copy of a picture that's in a Grange Hall down in Lenawee County, that's from 1896. This was my parents and both my grandparents were Grange members, and some that were Grange members from the time it very started. So in 1873, when Grange started. Some of these are some of the badges that here the state Grange, or the officers of the Grange wore these. In fact, each member had a badge. Side over here, this is set up like a Grange meeting room, and with the officers, chairs, and the Bible on the altar, and 3 graces, which were the ladies in the Grange, and This is what the kind of thing I'd like to see set up in the
Museum.
museum is where this. Yes, of course, I have some extra things added here, but my wife and I were delegates to the National Grange, and that's what these badges here are. Our badges when we were delegates to the National Grange, and the master, the president of the Grange, was and his wife were delegates. This particular picture was taken in Battle Creek. This is the Masonic temple where the State Grange was held back in 1914. And my grandparents are there in the picture over this side over here. This here, this is Oliver Hudson Kelly, who was yeah, we just over here.
Okay.
This is Oliver Hudson Kelly, the man who organized the Grange and was organized in Washington, D.C. in 1886.
Before that.
18, no.
Yeah, it's sesquicentennial. National Grange has celebrated sesquicentennial.
1876. 67. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm. That's all right.
Yeah, I can't
That's all right. Yeah.
think straight here. This is these badges and so on here are badges that were each year the State Grange had a badge that would be sort of a memento that the people could take home. And at national session they had the same thing. And these are national badges. These are state badges. Some of these go clear back in the 1800s. And a lot of this stuff has been given to me from the Grange. The younger kids had the junior Grange, what they call junior Grange now. It was juvenile Grange back in the early years, started out that, and then they changed the name to the junior Grange. These are badges that for the kids. These are pins for the young kids, and these are the badges that the young juveniles, juniors wore. This is a badge that they, or sash that they could wear the badges on. These are ballot boxes for different, some Granges made their own, some are bought, and the biggest share of those are handmade. That's also Oliver Hudson Kelly there, and this picture was taken from the original here. This was the original picture in 1873, and in 1906 they took that picture and sort of brought it up to date, and they had printed a bunch of these and had them. They gave them to Granges for membership. When they got so many members, I don't know just what that was, but anyway, there were quite a few of those given out around the state of Michigan, and kind of set up like a Grange meeting and tells about the different degrees and so on that. In the early part of the Grange, the men wore aprons, and these are some of the aprons. In one of the degrees, why they had blindfolded the
initiates
as they came in, and these hoodwinks, I call them anyway. And those are aprons that the ladies wore.
Very similar to Masonic. Very similar. So you have degrees that you can achieve.
This was a first degree,
Uh-huh.
where they were the hoodwinks. There are 4 degrees in the subordinate Grange, and then 2 for the state Grange, or 1 for the county Grange and 1 for the state Grange, and then the national Grange. So these were implements that were on the master's desk, on the president's desk, and there's quite a history to those. Each one has its own meeting, and so on.
I know the compass and the square belong to the Masonics, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm sure the star, 5-pointed star. Okay. And the sickle and the plow.
These, you see these cans here, what they used to use in the Grange Hall to keep their things away from the mice.
Ah.
Back in the old years, they had to keep things out so they'd keep their books and manuals and so on in those, and those came out of Grange Halls. I know that's what they were used for.
Very, very good. Very impressive. Doug, do you have any questions?
Your flag, your Grange flag.
That's a Grange. Yes, that's a Grange flag.
Okay.
There are several. That's the National Grange flag, and there are several others that I don't have one up here, but there's a state Grange flag and also.
You know, Roland, it looks like you've kept up with the history. You've got everything
Right, there's
categorized.
these boxes are, every one of them is clear full almost of historical things that, well, they're what were printed by the Grange. These are things that were printed by the Grange, and each year the National Grange has when they have their session, the National Grange has a Journal of Proceedings, and the State Grange has a Journal of Proceedings, and they were on that shelf over there. Up in that box there says Journals of Proceedings from 1950 to 1999. There's a complete set up there. But these other boxes, like I say, are full of all kinds of printed. These banners and other things that I have hanging around. And this is what the badges were, or the sashes were kept in. So these, well, anyway, there are sashes in there to keep away from the.
Nice. And these are the different activities at the Grange.
Yeah, those are different things that the Grange. The Grange started out as a farm organization. You had to be a farmer to belong when it first started, but then it got down to it was also community organization, community service. Today it's more community service, but they also have the agriculture part.
Right.
We have people in National Grange. In fact, our National Grange headquarters is just around the corner from the White House in Washington, D.C. It's the only building. They have an 11-story building there. It's the only building that's not government building in that area.
Wow.
And it's here.
Okay.
This showcase has more some of the newer things from the 125th anniversary and the 100th anniversary, and some of these are sashes that were handmade. Some Granges bought them, like these sashes that were purchased, and some Granges didn't have the money, so they made their own, and that's a set of those, and there's lots of different sets there. This is from a Pomona Grange, which is the county Grange. Hope and persevere, kind of the theme of the 5th degree. That's the 5th degree, county degree.
Okay, I'm good.
Good.
Do you think that you're comfortable with that? You're comfortable?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
We'll make sure you get a copy of this.
So the one thing that he didn't say, just a couple things, you can look up and find on the National Grange site, nationalgrange.org,
Mm-hmm.
the exact date of the founding of the Grange.
Mm-hmm.
Nationalgrange.org.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then the other thing is the junior Grange is for ages 5 through 14.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So it's
So
just,
it started young.
that's why he's an 80-year member,
That's
he
'cause he
joined
started
at 14.
14.
So that's
Good
the,
deal.
That's, okay.
that's
That's
still the
what
way
I
it is.
Good deal. Good
Our
deal.
Grange, our particular Grange didn't have a junior Grange, so I was 14, but when I joined the Grange, that was a regular Grange,
That's, wow, that is unbelievable.
and that was 80 years ago.
Yeah, I know. That is incredible.
So
That is fantastic.
All right.
No, you've done incredible. What you have collected is just fantastic.
it's, this, as far as some of the other stuff, well, that's kind of a workroom over there.
Okay.
But I have got a lot of books that these particular books are full of, they go by years. Here's 1873 to 1929, that's 1800s. There's material in there, historic material, things that I thought should be kept. This is 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and so on up each year. And these are things from the conventions. Here's a book on this Michigan State Grange Masters, and it tells about each one. And was a master, the president now, and some of the other important people. Some books, Grange books.
Let me see if I can give him a call and see if it's possible for us to stop over and look at his artifacts
Yeah,
that
I'd
he
love
has in
to.
his basement.
Yeah, good idea.
Hello, this is Roland Winter.
Bye.